Week 11 is here, John Daigle, but the people still need to improve their fantasy football rosters out there. So glad that we have you on to help them. These are the moves they need to make for Week 11. Served by Applebee's. We'll go through a drop, we'll go through an ad, and then we'll go through a deep cut as well. Daigle, let's start with the drop list. Who should the people cut ties with this week?
There is no need to hang on to someone like Devin Singletary through his Week 11 bye. He's practically hit rock bottom the past two games. Been out carried by Zach Moss 16-6 and out touched 19-10 in that span. In those 2 weeks, he has totaled 10 touches. That is not a player we can start, nor can we roster them since he's also on bye this week and then returns likely still being behind Zach Moss.
Yeah, and he was still started in about 53% of Yahoo leagues out there in Week 10 and did absolutely nothing to help anyone out there. All right, so if we're cutting ties with one running back, maybe people need to pick up another running back. Who should they add this week, Daigle?
A usage-based ad would be Savon Ahmed, especially since the Dolphins released Jordan Howard on Monday. Ahmed played 44 of 58 snaps for the Dolphins against the Chargers, 84% of the team's running back carries in that game, and ran a route on 56% of Tua's dropbacks with 3 touches inside the 10-yard line. We were concerned perhaps that they traded for DeAndre Washington. Maybe that means he comes in and steals the workhorse role. Not the case. Just 4 snaps in his debut. The more concerning issue is that Myles Gaskin could be back in a couple weeks, but Ahmed will at least have one more game to prove himself and perhaps even hold off Gaskin off of IR.
I love watching him run. I mean, he's explosive, he's swift, he's quick, he's all those descriptors that we love to use with these like shorter, stouter running backs. And it's so funny. Like I'm reflecting back on this backfield that we thought it was either going to be Matt Breida or Jordan Howard for the entire season, Daigle, and how cheap they were in fantasy drafts. Well, Matt Breida could have had this backfield possibly to himself if he was healthy at the right time, and he just hasn't been healthy the last few weeks, and then Jordan Howard was just completely cut. Meanwhile, Myles Gaskin, as you mentioned, looked great when he was in the backfield, but now that he is out for quite some time, I don't think Brian Flores would be the type to just remove Ahmed from the game plan even when Gaskin does return.
Are you telling me that you didn't know it'd be Ahmed or Gaskin at this time?
Look, there are times when I think I'm okay at this job and like okay at reacting at what I see, but without preseason, who would have known? Who would have known, John Daigle? All right, we did the drop, we did the ad. Now it is time for a deep cut. Give it to the people.
One of the best QB streaming options for the next 3 games without Drew Brees is, of course, Jameis Winston, because the Saints play the Falcons twice and the Broncos in that span. But the deep cut is Taysom Hill, because he's actually eligible as a tight end in ESPN leagues. And you talk about top 12 options that perhaps we're not comfortable with at the worst spot to find a starter weekly. I would start Taysom Hill over Hayden Hurst, Jimmy Graham, Robert Tonyan, Hunter Henry. Why are we starting these guys? Like, why are we depending on them every single week when Hill is fresh off a game that he matched Alvin Kamara in carries? I'll take that every single week, and I'll take the floor and start him.
I am fascinated to see, let's say if Drew Brees does miss a week or 2 or 3, whatever it is, how Sean Payton is going to use the Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill dynamic, because it makes absolutely no sense to me why you give someone a $24 million contract this offseason, claim he's the quarterback of the future for the last 3 years to Troy Aikman and Joe Buck when you have these, media meetings with them, these broadcast meetings with them before the game. And then last year you turned to Teddy Bridgewater. This year you turned to Jameis Winston. And maybe that does change, obviously, with a full week of preparation. Hopefully it does, for your sake, John Daigle. All right, if you're interested in a little bit more, go and check out the Rotoworld Football Podcast. We have a full 20-minute episode breaking down the entire waiver week, and John Daigle's waiver column was up on the site. But again, these were the moves you need to make in Week 11, served by Applebee's.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.